One of the big complaints about Warlords of Draenor was that content depreciated in value very quickly. At launch, Mythic Dungeons offered some great gear, however as soon as raids opened and people got their hands on tier sets, this content became useless. With the implementation of the Valor system in patch 6.2, Blizzard forced us back into these dungeons to gather currency, and with a slim chance of getting Warforged 725 items. However, this didn't really extend the life of the content, it just made it mandatory for raiders to cap Valor to upgrade gear that dropped from raids. With Legion, Blizzard have come up with a new concept to keep dungeon content relevant for a lot longer: Mythic Plus Dungeons. Blizzard went back to the drawing board here. They threw out challenge modes and built a system designed around constant progression. If you've ever played Diablo 3 and done Greater Rifts, you're already pretty familiar with this new mode. Mythic Plus will launch at the same time as the first raid, the Emerald Nightmare. You'll need to gather a group of 5 players yourself and enter the instance without a queue system as with Warlords of Draenor Mythic Dungeons. Once you complete a standard Mythic Dungeon, you will loot a keystone for the level 2 version of the dungeon you just completed. When you leave and re-enter the dungeon, you will see a pedestal at the entrance. When you open this, you can place your keystone inside to activate level 2. There will now be a time limit similar to challenge mode that scales. If you complete the dungeon within the time, your keystone will be upgraded by 1 to 3 levels depending on how well you did. Every level of keystone also increases the health and damage of dungeon mobs by around 9%. However, this is not the only difficulty increase. Once you reach level 4, mobs and bosses will start to gain additional affixes. These affixes can buff mobs as well as debuff players. At levels 4 to 6 you get 1 additional affix, at level 7 plus you start to get 3 affixes. So for example, in a level 10 Mythic Dungeon, the mobs will have 100% extra health and damage as well as 3 affixes. This affix system is a great choice for these dungeons, as it's really easy to expand upon. In the description I will link you to a guide that shows the full list of affixes that we know about, but for now I'll share 2 with you. The first is Raging. This buff to mobs means that at low health they deal double damage until killed. The second is Decay. This is a player debuff that means all players take constant damage over time whilst the challenge is active. These affixes will rotate randomly every week, so there will be a constant set of variables to deal with as you farm this content. But why are we doing these in the first place? Loot, of course, and I tell you what, the gear that drops from Mythic Plus Dungeons is fantastic. As you increase the difficulty, the item level of the gear that drops increases in increments. At base level, Mythic Dungeon drops 840 gear, this goes up by 5 item levels every 2 levels of difficulty. At level 10 plus, this caps at 865 gear. This is the same as Emerald Nightmare Heroic. However, once a week you will be able to secure an Order Hall mission that scales from the highest difficulty you've achieved. At level 10 plus, this cache will drop an 880 item. This is the same as Mythic Emerald Nightmare. You receive loot at the end of each cleared dungeon, regardless of whether or not you completed the dungeon within the time limit. If you do fail the time limit, the only penalty is that your keystone will be depleted. These dungeons also do not have a lockout, so they're repeatable as many times as you want. Mythic Plus is also the optimal way to farm artifact power, as you receive guaranteed drops for every dungeon you complete. This is huge for PvE players. For the first time, you're able to get Mythic quality raid gear outside the main raids. This is a great alternative method for gearing that is going to change the way we farm. The brilliance of this system is that it's infinitely scalable. The better gear we get, the harder Mythic Plus Dungeons will be able to complete. And all it takes for Blizzard to keep this content relevant is at the start of each tier to move the goalposts forwards and start dropping higher item levels in Mythic Plus. So now we understand how these dungeons work, let's talk about some advice for farming effectively. Unless you're gunning for a realm first, stick to level 10 dungeons once you get there. The difficulty increases from this point, but the rewards do not. You still get 865 gear at level 15, and the cache also remains at 880. There's no point wasting your time on higher difficulties when you don't need to. If you're serious about getting your farm on and grinding as many of these dungeons as you can, get a group of 5 players with at least 1 alt capable of farming with you. Do 5 runs with mains, then swap to alts in turn until you've completed a full cycle. This will allow 4 mains to keep getting loot and artifact power each run. You can keep doing this until you run out of alts. Also try to optimize your group setup so you can trade unwanted loot between you. Running double plate, triple cloth, for example, will allow you to trade efficiently. Make sure you research before you jump into these dungeons as well. Know the routes you will take and what you can skip. The new system requires you to kill certain amounts of trash, so only do what's necessary. If your guild has a solid set of groups for both Mythic Plus Dungeons and split raiding through Heroic, you'll give yourself a really great springboard into Mythic raiding. Personally, I'm really looking forward to this system. It takes challenge modes, which are more about bragging rights and transmog, and fills it with a lot more substance. It also allows this content to stay relevant for much, much longer. So what do you guys think about the Mythic Plus Dungeons? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, why not like and subscribe? But until next time, I've been Sinestra, you've been awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.